Good Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. Browns getting ready for their second preseason game tomorrow against Vikings. Not many of the starters on either side are going to play. It follows 2 days of joint practices on Wednesday and Thursday, so the day off today. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell talked about practicing against Myles Garrett and that Browns defense.
You know, every single snap, he can wreck the game, and we've got a really good left tackle in Christian Darrisaw. I thought he had some great work against him in the one-on-one setting, took it over to the team setting. I think Myles got him a couple times, CD got him a couple times. That's normally how it goes with two really, really good players at their positions. But you can just see the way his movement skills, power, speed, he's got every aspect of rush. And then I don't think people talk about his instincts enough. Like, he understands through his experiences the types of tools that may be used against him to try to mitigate some of his impact. And he's ready for it and can play off of that well. And I think they do a good job because they've got experience with it as a staff, really building a rush plan to attack, you know, things like where the slide's going, pressure, you know, where they know exactly what's going to be dictated by having 95 over on that edge.
With that, let's welcome in G. Bush from 92.3 The Fan, the Barbershop, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. G. Bush, you can say whatever you want to say. The Browns defense showed up. They didn't have Denzel Ward, was in concussion protocol most of it. And by all reports, they played really well in the joint practices against the Vikings.
Yeah, you know, some of the clips that were going around on Twitter, you got to see firsthand. There was no, you know, clips from the team periods, but from the individual drills, you kind of got a chance to see guys like Martin Emerson, who I thought really had a great week of preparation or a great week with the inter squad stuff, because, you know, he's going to get to now have an opportunity to be the number one corner. Usually he's looked at as the number two corner, but, you know, it's invaluable to get some of those reps against one of the better receivers, some would argue the best receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson, and him being able to come up with some plays. I thought, you know, you take a look at it, and we heard Myles Garrett is just, you know, and this is coming from the Minnesota people. You know, they talk about how Myles Garrett up to 6 sacks. So by their count, Myles Garrett is up to 6 sacks. It was just crazy. But you know, anytime they are praising your defense like that, and there's no Dalvin Tomlinson, there's no Zadarius Smith, there's no Denzel Ward, you get the picture that the Browns defense not only is going to be very good, but they have some new stuff that's up their sleeves that's going to make them an even better defense. And you know, Myles Garrett, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I mean, I think Myles Garrett had 14 sacks last year. I mean, that's not. I mean, 14 sacks by all means is good production. Let's not get it twisted. But no one would be surprised if you saw Myles Garrett with 18, 19 sacks, right? You know what I'm saying? That's something, and I think Myles Garrett believes that his production could even be better. And so if we can get some other outside pressure and we can get some guys on the other end that people have to pay attention to a little more, and still have our linebackers, you know, wreaking havoc, I think Myles Garrett can have a better season than he had last year based on production and impact.
Yeah, so you mentioned Martin Emerson, the young guy going head-to-head with Justin Jefferson, you know, the $35 million a year man at wide receiver. Jefferson talked about what he saw from Emerson.
Yeah, it's just you know, competing. I mean, with a defense like they have on their side of the ball, it's great work going up against them. You know, during these joint practices, you know, I won't be playing in the game, so you know, taking that time out here and really, you know, get into it with the one-on-one, 7-on-7, and red zone period. It's definitely, you know, some great work.
Did you have some? Did you have any history with him? That was that 1 year, his freshman year when he was at Mississippi State, you were at LSU?
Nah, I don't really think we really had history like that. I mean, this is my really first time really going up against him and seeing him, you know, up close. So he's definitely, you know, a tremendous corner, and we've been going at it this whole entire joint practice. So it's definitely you know, work on both sides.
Did you see Martin becoming one of the top premier cornerbacks in the league based on some of the best that you've already gone through?
Oh, for sure. You know, he's a long physical corner. And he's definitely going to cause some problems out there on the field. So it's great to go up against corners like that to, you know, give me an extra work or, you know, just put an extra little boost in my play style.
And G. Bush, he's got no reason to sugarcoat anything. You know, if he didn't feel that way, you just sidestep it. He didn't sidestep it.
Yeah. He could have been like you know. I think overall the Browns defense is a good defense, and anytime you can go against a good defense, you know, I'm all for it. You'd be like, okay, well, you know, he didn't say no names, but if you Barton Emerson. Listen, clip that. He's telling his team back, his media team, his agent, clip. Yeah, go ahead, take that little clip right there because we're going to use that in the negotiation room. You know, this is a thing with Martin Emerson. He has a 4-year deal. They don't got 50 years guarantee. And when you're a 3rd-round pick, what he's trying to do, he's trying to make some money up because he's not getting the money that a 1st-round pick, like, say, Greg Newsome is going to get in terms of the 5th-year bonus when he's getting $16, $17, $18 million on a 3rd year or on a 5th-year, contract for a rookie deal. He only get 4 years. So he's chomping at the bit to get that first league money. And for a guy that's come in since his rookie year and pretty much held it down, when you get guys like Justin Jefferson talking about you and saying like, listen, man, he's probably one of the premier corners. We was going back and forth at it, physical. I think he gave me a challenge. And anytime somebody is saying that, you take that to the bank, man. And I think Martin Emerson is looking at it like this. He wants to get paid. He keep watching all the JOK's been paid, Newsome. Listen, they paid Amari Cooper. They paid Jerry Jeudy. We know Deshaun Watson paid. You know, they paid Jack Conklin. He looking at it like this. If I come out here and have a great year, especially if you know, we don't want this to say anything, but if Denzel Ward is missing time or Denzel Ward somehow don't get a chance to, you know, play, he's now the number 1 corner, and he's going to get those matchups. He's getting the CeeDee Lambs. He's getting the Jamar Chases. He's getting some of those big time matchups. And if he performs well, he's going to take that to the bank, and the Browns got to, you know, pony up a little bit.
You know what? They'll gladly do that. You know, shutdown corners always get paid, yo. You always find money for cornerbacks that can play man-to-man. All right, this is from Browns Wire. 5 things to watch as the Browns get ready to take on the Vikings in the 2nd preseason game. Number 1, can Dorian Thompson-Robinson close the door on the 53-man roster spot? Number 2, Jamari Thrash and his quest to demand targets. Number 3, how will the Browns handle left tackle responsibilities? We'll deal with those 3. We got a couple more on defense. DTR and Huntley, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Somebody is going to come and drop a draft pick on your lap for one of those 2 guys. Just depends on.
DTR felt good about himself. I was like, man, this is going to be a quite an uphill battle. Like, you know, DTR kind of, you know, got injured last year. He started off in the preseason, and he came back and reminded everybody that he is DTR. Like, in the preseason, DTR reigned supreme. Like, I don't know what, like, them lights turn on in the preseason. He's different. He got velocity on the ball. He looked like he got a command of the offense. He's moving in chains. He's using his athleticism. And I thought last week he was the most impressive player that played on the field for the Browns. This week he's going to get a chance to start. If he moved the ball up and down the field and look good, I think that he's going to get that position. You know, DTR right now, I had him coming into training camp as a tie or even a little bit below Huntley. And Huntley didn't play bad. Jameis Winston didn't play bad, but I think DTR came in and kind of grabbed that position. Jamari Thrash is a guy who, if I'm David Bell, hey, David Bell, I know you've been nicked up a little bit, but you might want to get back out there because Jamari Thrash is looking like he want to take some minutes. You know, he didn't have to, you know, he made the best of his opportunities, 43 yards on I believe 3 catches last week. He just looks the part. He's a guy that doesn't look out of place. He can get in and out of his routes. He's a guy that can make people miss. I like what I see him as a rookie. He's going to be demanding some time. But the one thing that I will say, to me is and we're going to look at this all year. The mystery that is Jed Wills. I haven't heard anything from Jed Wills. When is he coming back? All I know is he had knee surgery in November. Like, we're going on 10 months. We haven't seen him. Now, maybe they know something and they're confident he can come back in the preseason and do what they do. But look, one of the things that we saw, and we've heard this from the guys at Minnesota and during the scrimmage with the Vikings, is that not only did the Browns defense shine, but the Vikings defense was getting pressure too.
Yep.
Vikings defense had some sacks. They was in the backfield making Deshaun Watson move up and move out of the pocket and different things. James Hudson, he's a name that we're familiar with, but I don't know about you. I don't know how I feel about James Hudson going against Michael Parsons all day against opening day against the Cowboys, because that could be a nightmare for us.
Yeah, I'm with you. You might have, if Wills isn't ready, you might have to go find something outside of the what's in here, because you can't go into a regular season game with James Hudson if he doesn't look substantially, and I mean night and day different than he did in that first preseason game. All right, the 4 and 5 here, looking for Jawan Briggs to continue to stand out. That's the 7th round pick from Cincinnati, the defensive tackle. And can Devin Bush stack 2 strong outings in a row? I liked what I saw from Bush. He was looking a lot more like a first round pick than the guy that's kicked around the last couple years.
It looks like I've been spot shadowing him. Because listen, I'm tell you what, as guys that are in the Midwest and we're watching the Buckeyes, I was always impressed with Devin Bush. He was like the first linebacker that I got was like, man, where'd they get this hybrid linebacker from? Running sideline to sideline, Michigan, like they had bigger linebackers. They never really was, too much into the hybrid guys, but they got Devin Bush and he was a first round pick. And I thought that was a pick that the Steelers was going, be able to take advantage of. And his first year, he had 100 tackles for the Steelers, but he ended up tearing his ACL, getting injured that first year. And I think that set him back a little bit. Sometimes it takes you a couple of years of being outside of injury to kind of get back that athleticism, not just back to just playing regular, back to being able to train at a certain level where now you're training and you're getting better. You're just trying to get back to base level when you tear ACL or Achilles or any major surgery. So I liked what I saw. I thought he's a thumper. I've said all along, I think that he can probably be your base starter when you're coming out with you got Hicks and you got JOK and you have a guy like Bush. I think he can be your base linebacker in that 4-3 scheme. He's going to still be able to give you some speed and athleticism, sideline to side, gets downhill, made a couple stops in the backfield. So I like what I saw out of him, and I like Briggs too. If you look at it, we have not seen Siaki Ika. I mean, have you seen?
Nope.
Have you seen?
Nope.
And think about it. Maurice Hurst and Dalvin Tomlinson are down. So if you're not getting minutes right now, and you got guys, Shelby Harris is not playing. So if you got guys down right now, we don't know what's going on with Mike Hall Jr. This is supposed to be a time that Siaki Ika is supposed to step up, and we just have not seen it. So it's an opportunity for Briggs to possibly come up and get him a roster spot if no one steps up in the middle.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports for CLE continues. Stay with us.
Cash, moolah, greenbacks, toast, Skrilla, chips, bread and mold, cheddar, butter, lewd and scratch. Find the letters, make a match. Lettuce, gravy, game on the back for $30. That's a wrap. There's many words for cash, no doubt, but there's only one $30 cash word. Check it out. Cash word from Ohio, lottery. It's $30 show. Cash word, it's fun to go with millions in prizes, don't you know?
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from 92.3 The Fan, The Barbershop, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
I want to alliterate on the man who said Barry hasn't been doing anything. And I kind of agree with him. What have we done with our couple third-round picks? Those are big picks. Our second-round pick, our third-round pick, and Anthony Schwartz, Mike Bell. All these guys, these are your depth players, not these guys you're picking off a practice squad. That's why they're on practice squads, because they're not that good. As far as Baker Mayfield goes, I kind of agree with him, because we had a coach who let him play through a bad injury and didn't do anything to help the man. He could have sat him down. He didn't put anybody out there to help him, no nothing. And just because Mayfield spoke up afterwards, now we're going to get rid of him. I'd rather have a Mayfield who's going to go out there every day and play than a Deshaun Watson who's constantly hurt. We paid an awful lot of money for a guy that's played just 6 games. Just my opinion, guys. Take care.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. And, Jim, you're certainly entitled to your opinion. I got a hard no on Baker Mayfield. He was 8-9 when he played through an injured shoulder that he demanded that he play through. He wanted to play through it and has admitted that. He was 9-8 last year, and the Browns gained more offensively with 5 different starting quarterbacks than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did with your boy Baker Mayfield. Mayfield's 500, average. And I applaud Andrew Berry for going out and saying 500 at a quarterback ain't good enough in the NFL. You will never win a Super Bowl with a quarterback like Baker Mayfield. Never. G. Bush, I don't know what you think.
Listen, you can't have it both ways. If you say that Baker was playing injured and the coach let him play through it and you should have sat him, well, okay, well, then you can't now come back and say, well, I feel like Deshaun Watson should have played through it. You're like, well, hold on. You just said that you wanted them to protect him and sit him down. So Deshaun Watson got hurt, and now you want him to play through it. I'm confused. Like, either you want him to sit or you want him to stay, or you want to play him. The reality of the situation is this, and I think this happens a lot of times. The Baker Mayfield ship has already sailed, right? It's done, right? When Odell Beckham Jr. was here, I thought that they mishandled the Odell Beckham Jr. thing, and I thought they could have done some better things to get him the football or whatever. But when they traded him to the Rams, it was done. Like, you're not gonna catch me talking about Odell Beckham Jr. because at this point that don't matter. I think we are stuck at a point where we got to realize something. It ain't 2019. Like, this is not 2019. And Baker didn't beat the Jets on a Thursday night and the beer cooler's open and we came back to win a game. Like, that's done. He pays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think a lot of the fan base is waiting for something to happen or waiting for some other shoe to happen or something to fall off. And I'm like, guys, don't you guys realize you went to the playoffs last year? I hear a lot of calls, and I'm like, fellas, what we went to the playoffs with a backup quarterback.
And here's the thing. The Carolina Panthers, who are in quarterback hell, gave up on Baker Mayfield. They went out and took Bryce Young. The LA Rams had Baker Mayfield in. They didn't keep him around. The Browns didn't keep him around. That's almost a tenth of the teams that have already said, we got to do better. There's only 32 teams. He went 9-8 with and the third-round picks. You realize Martin Emerson, who we just talked about, is a third-round pick. DeJuan Jones was a fourth-round pick. Yeah. So the point was the roster with Barry isn't good, and that was what he's dovetailing on. I'm like, you're crazy. Everybody thinks this roster, minus the quarterback that they have questions about, is one of the best in the league. And you know what? Just remember these conversations once the regular season starts.
Yes. And not to mention, I mean, we haven't even talked about, I mean, what if Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb turns out to be back to Nick Chubb? I mean, when we go over these, about the roster, most people have Nick Chubb as still a top 5 running back. When they go over the defensive backs, PFF has 3 of the top 35 ranked quarterbacks. The Browns have 3 of the top 35. When it comes to offensive line, PFF has them rated the 3rd best offensive line in the entire game. They have 2 guards that are in the top 10 in their position, not to mention a top 10 tight end by most people's thought processes, and a top 5 player overall in the entire league, and Myles Garrett, the defensive player of the year. JOK is rated highest, as the number 6 linebacker in all of football. So when people talk about the lack of like talent, I'm like, what are you looking at? What are you guys watching? Like, I maybe I missed it. Maybe we back in 2014, but I think perception kind of, especially when you talk about the off season. Off season is so long, and you listen to these lists and you listen to people say, I don't know about the Browns, I don't know, and it kind of rubs off on them. But guys, just always remember, you had a better record in the regular season than the Houston Texans. Like, they didn't win. They didn't even win their division. That's the reason they got a home game. The Browns had a great record. They did it with swing tackles and backup quarterbacks. So they're pretty good. Just let the season play out, and I guarantee that you'll be a little bit energized at what you can check out.
All right, before I let you go, tomorrow not a lot of starters going to play. What are you paying attention to? It's going to be guys fighting for roster spots, basically. Mm-hmm.
I want to see what's going on with some of your defensive ends. You got Isaiah McGuire, you got Isaiah Thomas at defensive end. Are those guys going to make some play? We talk about Briggs and Siaki Ika. That's a position for nose tackles. I think Devin Bush is going to start this game again. Is it one-hit wonder? He played well in the first game. Will he continue to be able to play well in that second game? And we talk about James Hudson. Do we need to go find another tackle out there, or are you going to get it together and not have any false start penalties and make sure you can get out there and protect the quarterback? And then finally, I want to see Jerome Ford a little more too. He had 2 carries in the last game. I think you got to see more of Jerome Ford. Jamari Thrash is a guy. David Bell is another guy. Cedric Tillman is another guy. And Mike Woods. I want to see somebody make some plays. Show up and look like you look the part, and see if you guys can make a bigger a bigger dent in this playbook. So there's a lot to look at up front. Zach Zenner played very well. I think he graded out in the 80s. No pressures. Want to see Zach Zenner get some minutes again. And then most of all, no injuries. No more injuries. Nobody carted off. None of that stuff. We can get out of there clean and see some of these young guys. I think it'll be a good experience overall for the Browns.
G. Bush, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, G. Bush.
Appreciate it.
G. Bush, make sure you check him out. 92.3 The Fans, The Barber Shop. You can catch him 8 until noon on Saturdays. Also, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Lance Reisland, who was at the joint practices, will join us to talk a little bit about that, also take some film breakdown, video analysis. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Browns getting ready for second preseason game against the Vikings after just having wrapped up 2 days of joint practices. Let's welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Lance, you were out in Berea for both of the days of joint practices, and you've been out at training camp as well. Biggest takeaways from the 2 days of joint practices?
Well, I think they got a lot of good work in. I'm a big believer in those joint practices. They got a lot of situational stuff in. They faced the front, an odd front. They faced Brian Flores defensively, which I think gave them a really good look offensively. I think they got humbled a little bit, which I always think is a great thing in the preseason. Games don't count until September 8th. I will tell you the defense is as advertised. Myles Garrett was absolutely unblockable. JOK was really, really good. Secondary was very good. Secondary is very confident in themselves, getting a chance to see them up close against another team. Very, very confident in themselves. Emerson battled very well against JJ. They did a really nice job. Offensively was not as bad as everyone thinks, in my opinion. They faced a guy who really gave them a lot of looks. I think it was very good. It was a very good learning session for them. I think they're learning a new offense. They did some things they haven't done in the past offensively. I liked what they did. I think they have a long way to go, but it was good. And, there's some they struggled a little bit offensively. Defensively, they were dominant.
The reports coming out about Deshaun Watson seemed to be all over the place. Some said he was great. Some said he was good. Some said he was terrible. What did you see from Watson in the joint practices?
I have heard the same, right? He's been, I've never heard reports from one end to the other, from great to just horrible. I think he's right in the middle. He had some really, really good throws. I think his best throw on for day one was a deep out. He threw to Tillman. I think his best throw yesterday was a touchdown pass to Jerry Jeudy. He made some really good throws. He made some bad throws. All the quarterbacks did on both sides. However, I think they both faced defenses that gave him a lot of trouble. I like where he's at. I think he's progressing from when I saw him in mandatory minicamp to where I see him now. It's really hard to tell with a quick whistle because a lot of what he does is going to be improvised in terms of breaking the pocket and things like that. He did miss some throws, but he made some great throws too. So of all those reports, kind of like just it's like I always say when you watch the film, it's never as bad as you think. It's also never good as you think. He was right in the middle. He did some really good things. He seems a little bit late. The offense doesn't have a lot of rhythm, doesn't have a lot of pace, doesn't have a lot of energy. And I don't think that's a negative thing. I think they're learning this new scheme and what they want to do offensively, that you could see some of the things they're trying to do. I never think it's as bad. As an offensive coordinator, I've been a part of those early camps where even in high school, early on, the defense is ahead and they did some good things, but it's going to be a while. And they got some days here. They're going to iron it out. And I have no doubts they will.
When you look at that offense, you mentioned some of the things. Is it more? Is it different from what it's been in the past, do you think? Do you think this is going to be something that is noticeably different offensively?
Well, I tell you what, you did see a lot more spread sets than you've seen in the past. A lot more 11 personnel. Even when they're in 12, they use Richie and Njoku split out. They put the backs out. So they are in a lot more spread, which is also going to create more of a pass rush. Remember, that defense has always been the defenses they play have always had to worry about the run game. Now, maybe not as much. We'll see when they get to September. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit different. I still think they got to run the ball. I still think they're very good inside. I think Foreman gave them a little bit more on day 2. I didn't watch a lot of the offense. I really focused on the defense on day 2, mostly offense on day 1. But I do think it'll be different. And I think it'll be different, but I think they're building towards it. And once again, the panic with the offensive line, I don't think it's necessary. Brian Flores did a great job of showing them a bunch of stuff that's really going to allow them to work. A lot of 7-man fronts, simulated blitzes, odd fronts, even fronts, backers, safeties blitzing. Brown's got a really good learning session, and I think they'll get better from it. In fact, I think they're going to be fine. If you look in the past, Kevin's been very good game planning, and these scrimmages show you that game planning is very important.
The other thing I would say, you mentioned they're going to spread out more. When you get Nick Chubb back, that means lighter boxes, and that means that's going to be Nick Chubb's got to be the most excited guy because if you put him in there with 6- and 7-man boxes, which you're going to have to do if you spread it out, he's going to run over some people.
Well, not only that, but here's what you get too. So now they're gonna have to loosen the box. But if they don't loosen the box, Dorsey has brought in this run pass option a little bit more, and Kevin was getting to that as well. But that 7th, 8th guy in the box now is going to be blocked by a pass. So if you want to put that 8th guy in there and that 8th guy is going to try to stop the run, they're going to hit a little short slant or a bubble or something. There's a bunch of different options you can use for run pass options. But that last guy in the box is not going to be blocked with the pass. And that really gives them versatility with formations and trying to create, like you said, light boxes for Nick Chubb to run the ball. They didn't run the ball great. Again, they saw fronts. Posick was covered for the first time all camp, things like that. So they're going to get better. It was a good, humbling experience, but nothing to panic about. Panic time comes after game 1, not after the first joint practice.
All right, so we're going to take a look at some video of guys, and a guy who really did what we thought he would do, Martin Emerson, working one-on-one against Justin Jefferson. And take us through what you saw with this as well.
Well, this is him during camp. So here's the 2 clips, right? So now he goes against Mark Cooper every day. And then you're going to see him yesterday go against Justin Jefferson. And they had a battle. And they were 1-1, and he had a lot of knock plays, and Justin Jefferson had some catches. So it was a fairly equal battle. But what I like is that he accepts that challenge. Every time Jefferson went out one-on-one, Emerson went out one-on-one. He does a lot of really good things. Now, the thing I like about Emerson compared to last year is last year Emerson was very handsy at the top of routes. He's now not as handsy. He's really improved his short area quickness and his ability to move his feet laterally. And obviously that's work he's put in. It's a very physical game down there. Both of these guys have extreme confidence in what they're doing. And all of us don't get to hear that on game day, being down there and being able to hear the conversations. These guys went at it. It was professional, but they both believe they're really good. And it was really impressive. And I was impressed with Martin Emerson's ability to cover Justin Jefferson, his ability daily to cover Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper here gets the catch. But you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. And Martin Emerson never steps away from the challenge, and I like that.
Yeah, the other thing is, remember, Greg Newsome not out there and Denzel Ward not out there because in the concussion protocol. So Emerson, he's got to be ready, and it looks like he is. This is another guy I'm interested in what you saw from Jerry Jeudy. So our next clip is Jerry Jeudy. What did you see from him?
Jerry Jeudy's kind of like Amari Cooper. He's a really shifty kind of route runner here, and you're going to see this route here. He's going to slide outside. Then you're going to see him put that right foot in the ground and just explode on the slant. And he ran some really good routes. He seems to have some good chemistry with all the quarterbacks. I was just really impressed with his ability to get open, make catches. He's under a lot of scrutiny right now. People aren't real high on him. Browns need to get all these guys going. I was really impressed with Jerry Jeudy. I think the best throw both days was to Jerry Jeudy yesterday from Deshaun Watson back at the end zone. I think Jerry Jeudy is going to be very good. I was really impressed. Even though he's slight, not very heavy, he plays pretty physical. He plays long. He's really good down here in the red zone. And again, another guy stepped up to the challenge, and they can get him going. And obviously Cooper's going to be good, and Elijah Moore had a great camp. They're going to be okay with this pass game. It's just a continuously work in progress.
Yeah, if you think about it, they're going to try to seek matchups each and every week. And when you've got Cooper and you've got Jeudy and you've got Elijah Moore, you should be able to find not many defensive secondaries are like the Browns. You can't roll out that many guys that can cover in space. And that's kind of the philosophy from what I've gathered that the Browns are looking at offensively.
Yeah, so if you think about think about 11 personnel in that slot or outside. So that slot, how are they covering that slot? Do they need to use a nickel back? Well, if they use a nickel back, then the run game is going to be a little bit open. If they use a safety or a linebacker in zone or a safety in man, that's a mismatch for Jerry Jeudy or Elijah Moore, or even Amari Cooper can play inside if necessary. So it creates an issue for that defense because of their versatility, and getting that run game going is going to be important. But I think it'll come. I think they're going to run a little bit more zone this year, but I think it'll come. It's just going to be a matter of time.
So another guy that has performed really well, and I mentioned the safeties or the secondary being banged up. Rookie Miles Harden, he looked good in the preseason game. What'd you see from him in the joint practices?
So this is the hard guy not to like, right? Even every day in practice, and again, both days, he had an interception. He had a bunch of knockaways and one-on-one, 7-on-7s team. He plays with an edge. For me, he's a Jim Schwartz secondary guy. He's very physical. He's not afraid to tackle. He'll stick his nose in there. He runs a lot better than I thought. He covers a lot better than I thought. Here's a great idea of run it. So going to run a vertical. He runs to the hip. He looks when the receiver looks, and then he knocks the hands away. That's kind of how they teach it in practice every day, and he did a great job of it. Again, he's really, really fast in a short area, really physical. Again, this whole secondary is very, very vocal and very chirpy, and they'll let you know how good they are, but they back it up with their play, and more importantly, they back it up with their practice habits. These guys all practice hard every single day. I enjoy watching them. It's a good matchup with the Browns receivers. They did very well against the defense. My biggest takeaway from camp from both sides would be the defenses were pretty dominant both days.
The thing that's impressive here is, he gets his hand on him, doesn't grab him, and then locates the ball. I mean, that's a guy that was a 7th-round pick. I think he's played his way into the conversation for being on the 53-man. I didn't think that would potentially be where he lines up. He looked really good in the slot against the Packers.
He's made plays every day. So what you saw on the joint practices, I've seen a lot of people, including myself, tweeting things out and putting things out on social media. That's what you see every day. He's making plays every day. He works really hard in individual and 7-on-7, 11-on-11 drills, red zone, you name it. He works really hard. He makes impact plays. He makes big tackles. He makes interceptions. He makes big knockaways. Really, really been impressed. It's going to be really hard to keep him off the roster. Now, this is a deep roster with a lot of depth. They're 3 safeties deeper already with Delpit, Thornhill, and McLeod. But this is a guy with kickoff being so important. This is a guy that's going to be very hard to keep off that roster. He's really, really good.
As always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance Reisland.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland, make sure you check him out. Always really good stuff, particularly film breakdown, video analysis of the Browns. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Let's welcome in Brad Ward from the Orange and Brown Report, as well as the host of the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. Brad, you wrote an article that we always talk about, things I think I know about the Browns. You have 5 of them. Let's break them down 3 and 2. So first 3, wide receivers flash in the passing game, offensive tackle concerns, and showcase Huntley. So take us through those 3.
So we'll start with Huntley because they're doing it. Well, I wrote this before it happened, and my thought was they may, DTR looked great, right, Dave? And they're probably going to try to maybe, you would think, flip or trade Huntley at some point here. So my thought was swap them in the order that they play so that Huntley can play against the 3s or the bottom of the 90-man roster that you're seeing in the preseason. So he looks better, right? You want to showcase him. And that's ultimately what they decided to do. So he's going to get the second half here in preseason game 2. So that kind of came to fruition. The offensive tackle concerns is very interesting, right? So, they have James Hudson out there, and by all accounts, that's not working at all. Right, that's been very bad, not great. Is Wills going to be back on time? I don't know. I have my questions. You know what I mean? We're only 3 some weeks out now, 4 weeks out, whatever it is, and he's not been out on the field doing anything. So, and Hudson is kind of a disaster over there so far. The question is, and I was talking with Quincy last night, Carrier, and he pointed this out that, maybe it's a Fetty and a Denegy are the guys they're looking at as the backup, and they're just giving James Hudson every chance to try to prove himself at left tackle in the preseason here. So maybe it's not as bad as we think, and they think as those other guys is better than Hudson. So I think that's an interesting angle there. My thought going into having that conversation with Quincy was you're probably going to need, if Wills isn't ready, I would be looking to scour other rosters and just try to find a rosterable left tackle in case you need him week 1. And the last one here is wide receivers flash in the passing game. I thought that was the best part for me. Besides the defensive line, the best part of the preseason game was that wide receivers looked open. Especially when Winston was in. There was a lull when Huntley was in, but when DTR was in as well. Wide receivers were getting open. They were making catches. I thought the wide receiver core looked really solid.
So here's the thing with Wills. When he's been banged up, he hasn't played really well. If you think about it, he was getting kind of beat up physically and was not able to play the way he was when he was healthy. So my question is it just a guy that if he's not feeling great, he has trouble doing what he's supposed to do? That's a concern. That's a huge concern for an offensive lineman. Your 4 and 5 points in this, things you think you know about the Browns that you wrote for the Orange and Brown Report. Dorsey's game day role, Amari Cooper drama, overblown.
Yeah, so, Dorsey, I thought, has always been a booth guy, Dave. He's always been up in the booth. There's the funny video of him freaking out and slamming stuff up in the booth, right, that everybody points out. But he's always been a booth guy, and he was down on the field in the first preseason game, and I was kind of like, oh, man, I was looking to think that might help Stefanski, right, to have a set of eyes up there who are this attached to the offense. Up in the sky, right? Communicating with them in their collaborative effort to call the best play. But it was also pointed out to me by another member of the OBR, and it's kind of why I do this article. Is people come out and they kind of change your mind, but it's a good point that the main reason Dorsey is here is to get the best out of Watson. And in order to do that, you probably want him face-to-face, interacting down on the field, so he can be there with him, looking at the surface, talking him through every possession. And I thought that was a really good point or counterpoint to my thought of, man, I was hoping – and then it was also pointed out to me that Chad O'Shea is up there, and maybe they value what he's doing. The Cooper stuff is this, right? Everybody kind of freaked out over this IG – LOL, I wouldn't mind, or whatever he wrote, right? Implying that he wouldn't mind if he was traded. We don't even know if that's what he really meant, but a lot of publications took it and run with it. Like, the sensationalism of it all is kind of crazy, right? But my thing is during preseason game 1, after that had happened, he had his headset on, he was engaged, he was talking with his quarterback, he was laughing with coaches, he was talking with players. He's a pro's pro by every account, and a guy that held out. Here's the ironic thing, Dave. He held out. Similar situation. 3 days he didn't come to minicamp because he wanted a new contract, and I don't blame him for that. But then you turn around and because you hear your name in trade talks, you're going to do. It just doesn't add up. It's the business of the game. It's the business of football. You're going to hear your name in trade talks sometimes. You can't take it personally. And I don't think that, and I think he realizes that. So to me, it's a much ado about nothing.
Yeah. And, I've said this on the show before. At the scouting combine, people that were around Buffalo and that knew Ken Dorsey when he was at Carolina and from the league have said he's a pretty good offensive coordinator. He's an even better quarterback coach. So the other thing is you want him giving the feedback, mechanics and those kind of things. Hey, just remember this, and this when you're, So I agree that having him in Watson's ear is probably really good. The other thing with Cooper, why would you be pissed off if you're going to be traded to the 49ers? You know what I mean? That's probably, he's like, you're going to trade me from a really good team to another really good team? Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
He already got his contract. So yeah. Exactly.
All right, so this is Jerry Jeudy versus Cover One over the past 2 seasons among qualifying wide receivers. 0.63 EPA per target in 2023, 0.84 EPA per target in 2022. 4th best a couple years ago, 9th best in last year. And keep in mind, he wasn't playing with very good quarterbacks. It was Russell Wilson and I think it was Drew Lock. I can't remember which mediocre quarterback the Broncos were trotting out in 2022.
I love that tweet. Cody writes, "Good luck to your ankles" at the bottom. That's hilarious. He Cover One generally means man-to-man. As we saw yesterday from clips, he shook one guy complete. It was probably the play of the day, the route he routed up some guy. He basically made him fall down on a little stutter step slant, delayed slant. He is incredibly good route runner. He gets separation quickly and gets open. So I think they will try to use him. Teams are going to play man. If you're going to play man against him, the Browns are going to use slants, delayed slants, jerk routes, stuff like that in the short to intermediate area to get him the ball quickly because he gets open so fast, right? And then let him create after he gets the ball. So, and the numbers prove it right there, as Cody pointed out.
Yeah, the other thing is you think about it, Cooper, Moore, spread it out and expose. You get to pick which matchup. There's one of those is going to be a mismatch in your mind because it isn't like you've got Martin Emerson, Denzel Ward, and Greg Newsome playing on the other side of things. So is it because you're playing zone? All right, what are our zone? There are a lot of things that you can do with 3 versatile wide receivers.
Agreed. And 3 wide receivers that all are very, very good route runners, very precise, quick, get separation. So that aspect of the offense should be really intriguing this year.
All right, this is from Pro Football Network, ranking the most analytic-friendly teams. They have the Browns 1, the Ravens 2, Eagles 3. In Seth Walder's most recent front office check-in, Cleveland had more analytic staffers, 9, than any other club. Browns have an analytically minded GM, leadership all the way, director level and above, who are quantitatively inclined, a survey taker told Walder in 2022. To be mentioned in the same thing with the Ravens and the Eagles, those are genuinely embraced as really good organizations. The other thing is, people have to get over this analytics as being, it's not football. If you are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on players, you better have something that backs that up other than a guy going, well, he looks like he can beat this. The game has evolved past the crusty old scouts that say, I know it because I've seen it before.
It's so true. You said it perfectly. You kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I wish people, Dave, would analytics is a word. It's kind of a triggering word for some people, right? Because it's like, oh, they immediately go to something. It's just statistics. It's just numbers, right? Like you're just taking all the information you can and applying it to these players when you're evaluating them, how to use players, how, what defenses are best and what situations. I mean, I would love to see the amount of, would they say 9 staffers?
Yeah.
You have a chief strategy officer from baseball who's known for his analytical world and everything that he's brought to this. Andrew Barry's all about it. Stefanski's all about it. They're right. They've streamlined it. But, they're not like a slave to it either, right? Which I think is good. So they use the information when they can, where they need it. But you also see, the football aspect of the guys as well. Andrew Barry is kind of a unicorn that way, is that he is he understands the game. He is a football guy, and he's able to use the number side of this thing. So, but yeah, I mean, 9 staffers. I would love to see the analytics that they're pulling. They've got to have numbers on everything, Dave. It's crazy, right? Like, and that information can only help.
Right. It doesn't. You're not enslaved to it. It helps you make decisions from what you see football-wise. All right. Before we go to break, I mentioned this to you before we started, and I'm curious as to everybody's reaction to it. So the Bengals, we know they have trouble with T. Higgins. He wants a new contract. Jamar Chase is doing a hold-in. His base salary is $1 million. So the Bengals, what do? They go out and they sign their kicker, really good kicker, Evan McPherson, to a 3-year, $16.5 million extension. So he'll earn $10 million in new money in the first year of the deal, highest ever for a 3-year kicker extension. But Jamar Chase's base salary this year is $1 million, and he's already upset about it. T. Higgins is not happy. So what do? You go give the kicker money. McPherson's a really good kicker, but I can't imagine can you imagine Higgins and Chase talking about the kicker getting his money before they do?
Yeah. It's not a great look. Yeah, the timing could have probably been handled better, right? It's funny because ultimately, they're not necessarily pulling from the same pot of money, you know what I mean? But like, it's just a bad look, to your point. The whole thing with Chase is like, man, I thought he would have understood too, Dave. And I kind of said this to you, like, so the Higgins thing the drama with Higgins isn't even done, right? Like, he's going to play out his 5th year or whatever, right? And then that's it. But like, with Chase, like, you would have thought like somebody in the organization would have a conversation like, listen, we're not paying him so we can pay you, right? But yet he's still holding out, Dave. Like, where's the miscommunication there? Can't he wait until next season to get his money? It just seems ultra like, where's the disconnect? Because they have to not be paying Higgins so they can pay Chase, right? Like, that was my understanding from the beginning.
I'm guessing what he's looking at it is I'm going out and putting my body on the line. If I get hurt, it's $1 million. You know what I mean? Every time as a wide receiver, I guess to a certain extent I understand it. If I'm going out there and taking hits, running over the middle, you gotta do something more than $1 million guaranteed, because I'm one hit away from not having that second contract. So I get it, but again, you're right. A bad look is probably the best way to describe that. You know what?
Yeah.
AFC North, geez, I hate that. Hope those wide receivers don't get too upset about it. Brad Ward, Brad Ward and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we continue talking Browns. We'll take a look at some guys the Browns might be looking at to be roster casualties. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Cash, moolah, greenbacks, toes, Skrilla, chips, bread and mold, cheddar, butter, lewd and scratch. Find the letters, make a match. Lettuce, gravy, game on the back for $30. That's a wrap. There's many words for cash, no doubt, but there's only one $30 cash word. Check it out. Cash word from Ohio, lottery. It's $30, Joe. Cash word, it's fun to go with millions of prizes, don't you know?
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE with Brad Ward from the Orange and Brown Report, also the host of the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. 3 Browns next in line for contract extensions. This from Cleveland Browns on SI. They go with David Njoku, tight end, $14.5 million this year, and will have a couple years left on his deal. Martin Emerson, cornerback. Again, remember, third-round pick, so does not have that 5th-year option. That is only on first-round picks, contracts. And then Alex Wright, defensive end, who has kind of flashed and could be in line for even a bigger breakout season. When I look at those, Brad, I get Njoku. Martin Emerson's the one, especially because you've got Newsome coming back, and who knows, a hamstring, surgery on a hamstring, you could be delayed a number of ways. You got, Denzel Ward, concussion protocol. Emerson's the one that if he goes out and has a really good year, you're going to have to open up the checkbook pretty quickly.
I almost wish they would pay him now, because he had an incredible year last year, Dave, and by all metrics, I mean, he's like 3rd in pass rating allowed and completion rate. He's like in the top 3 as well. And yet he still keeps kind of getting snubbed on all these lists and stuff like that. People are just kind of, because there's so many guys on the Browns, right? But if he goes out and does it again, he's certainly going to be recognized. So you almost wish they would just give him the money now. You could probably get him a lot cheaper. I feel like he's going to be receiving a rather lucrative contract next offseason if all goes as it appears. You saw him manning up Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the game, the past 2 days, and holding his own very much so.
Very much like what we were talking about before we went to break with Jamar Chase, do $1 million and sitting there waiting. You know, he's waiting on a contract, and it'll be interesting to see. You wrote an article, potential cut candidates that the Browns should monitor. So let's bring up the list of them. You got Cam Robinson, offensive tackle, Jaguars. Jackson Carman, offensive tackle from the Bengals, also grew up down in the Cincinnati area. Peyton Hendershot, tight end, Cowboys. Ian Thomas, tight end, Panthers. Irv Smith, tight end, Chiefs. Then you got another offensive tackle for the Bears, Mo Alley Cox, and then Aaron Robinson, a cornerback with the Giants. If I'm Andrew Berry, I'm starting to turn over every opportunity to find a guy that can play left tackle and is at least competent at it.
Yeah, there's a theme there, right? As you can see of the players I chose, tackles and tight ends. And then there's a cornerback I threw in there because Aaron Robinson has inside-outside versatility is the only reason why. And because of the Newsome thing we've kind of talked about. But Browns really don't have a third tight end that I love, or I think that they love, and they certainly need tackle help, as you said. No stone unturned as far as that goes, especially right now. Cam Robinson is interesting. Carmen's not a very good player, but he was a high draft pick, which is kind of why I put him on there. Larry Borum is an interesting guy. He's a veteran for the Bears. Right now, they're actually trying to potentially trade him. Like, if you could trade a 7th-round pick in the future or a 6th or whatever and get a comparable, listen, tackle play in the NFL is tough right now, right? It's hard to find even an average left tackle. So, if you could get him in here for a late-round draft pick, I would consider it. And then, there's a couple tight ends here. Irv Smith Jr. is a guy I really like, but he seems to get hurt every year, Dave, no matter where he goes. But Mo Alley Cox, Ian Thomas probably isn't going anywhere now, but Mo Alley Cox is very interesting that he's even on the bubble there. Indianapolis, very Njoku-like player, right? So if you're looking for a backup for Njoku, here's a guy that can do some similar things, just not to the level that Njoku can.
So this is from Fox Sports, breakout candidates for every AFC team. For the Browns, they say Jerome Ford. It's Ford to identify as unsung talent in Cleveland as the Browns boast one of the most talented rosters and veteran-heavy ones in the NFL. Ford fits the bill, though due to the unfortunate injury to Nick Chubb, Ford has a big opportunity to build on his 813 rushing yards last fall. Man, I hope that's the case. I got some questions about Jerome Ford being the main ball carrier. I think he's a 1A to maybe Deontay Foreman's 1. I think he can play in the NFL. I don't know that he is a workhorse type.
Yeah, I wouldn't use him that way either. To me, he's best catching the ball out of the backfield. I think that's long term. That's going to be where he finds his success. Like, he's a really good receiver as a back, right? We saw that last year. That's something the Browns can use going forward. Probably something he can make a career off of. His vision is a little like that's where you question it, right? Like, his vision sometimes is questionable. Hopefully he's learning from that. But to your point, Foreman is the guy that, if you're going to give the ball between the tackles to, I'd rather kind of see you give it to him sometimes, at least in my opinion. So I think they'll use both. It's interesting that, you brought this up today because I was talking to somebody last night about fantasy football sleepers, not that really pertains, but they said one of the biggest sleepers in the fantasy football world, people are saying Jerome Ford. So it's interesting. People think he's going to get a lot of stats. I don't know.
I hope they're right. Before we go, we've seen a little bit of the offense now in a preseason game. Not anybody. Everybody that plays tomorrow is kind of fighting for a roster spot. So rather than that, have you seen enough different things in the offense? It looks to me like they're doing some of the things that will play to what I think Deshaun Watson's strengths are. I think if you looked at it, there's some RPO stuff that's pretty good, spreading it out, shotgun. I think this is going to be an offense that Deshaun Watson can succeed in and kind of thrive in.
It's moving that direction. I think it's fair to say that. We've seen the glimpses of it, right? We've also seen bouts of the same, you know what I mean? Stefanski core stuff. And I think it's safe to say that they're being ultra vanilla in everything that they do. But coming away from 2 days where they couldn't use, videotape anything that they did in 11 on 11, there's certainly new stuff, and they're still learning it, right? It may be a little out of sync right now, but they're still getting into the newer aspects of this offense. Like you said, the RPO game, I feel like the offensive line and the RPO game kind of need to marry a little better. That seems a little bit disjointed, at least in the first preseason game. And of course, there aren't starters out there either, but the motion, the choice routes have been really interesting. You hear Jerry Jeudy talk about it in the on the sideline in preseason game 1, but just using guys' leverage against them to get open. The one thing that I have been the most encouraged by is in the pass game, as they are spreading it out, it seems like guys are getting open really easily, Dave. So
I'm
if
with
they're
you.
on the same page with Watson, it's good stuff.
Brad Ward, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Brad.
You're the best, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Brad Ward, make sure you check him out. Writes for the Orange and Brown Report. You can also catch the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. He is the co-host. It's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you Monday at 4 on Sports for CLE.